To start this lesson, make sure you have Project 1 open. This is in the PSD files folder under Project 1, not the final one, but just the other option, resizing and placing layers. You should see something like this, and this is the basic layout of Photoshop. At the top, we have our menu with drop-down options for all kinds of different things. We're going to be going through a lot of these throughout the course. Basic file menu where you can save your project, create new projects, edit and image menus that allow you to edit the canvas, which is what we call the project itself, or the specific images that are in your project. A layer menu, which is how you can edit the layers, etc., etc. This is, I don't want to dive too deep into what each thing is because that's not how I want to teach this class, and I don't think that's the best way to learn. I think the best way to learn is to learn through practical projects and examples, and through the course, you're going to learn what most of these options are, but it's not a course where I'm going to say, okay, the first thing is File, New. What does New do? The next thing, File, Open. What does Open do? Because I don't think that's the best way to retain that information. But just knowing that your top menu is a great place to access a lot of options is good to know. Below this, you have your canvas right here. This is your main Photoshop project area where you're going to be doing all of your editing, you're typing out text, adding shapes. That's this main area where you're seeing your actual images. Going to the left, you have your toolbar. So the toolbar is where you have all your tools. You have tools that can crop your images, tools that can paint on your images, you have brushes, text, all kinds of things. Again, we'll be going through these one at a time throughout the course. It's not a course where I'm going to go just start at the top and go one by one, but know that we will be covering these throughout the entire course. If you hover over each tool, you kind of get a pop-up and the name of the tool, and it kind of shows you what it does. And then if you click and hold, you can see that for some of these tools, there's other options. So if you see this little arrow on the bottom right of each tool, if it has that, which I think pretty much everyone does now, except for the zoom tool down here, there are other options that you can get to it that are a related tool to the main tool. On the top, you have your sort of tool adjustment bar or tool settings bar. So depending on the tool that you have open, you'll have different settings up here that you can adjust to change how that tool works. Moving over to the right-hand side, you have several panels. Now, the way that this looks right now is what it should look like if you just open up Photoshop for the very first time. Now, I probably should have mentioned this in the very beginning, but if you have used Photoshop before, your layout might look a little different, and the panels or these windows, which is what we call panels in Photoshop, those might look different for you. What you probably want to do is go either up to Window, Workspace, and then choose Essentials, which is the default view or setup for this. There's different view options or setups depending on what kind of editing you're doing. Now, there's another place to get to this. If you click this drop down right here, it's this little icon that looks like the Photoshop layout itself, and then you can change it. If you're on Essentials and it doesn't look like this, click the Reset Essentials button because you might have moved some panels around or things like that. And by clicking Reset Essentials, it will get back to this basic Essentials view. And that's important as we move forward so that we're all on the same page. Let me just show you though, if I go to Workspace and change it to Graphic or Photography, for example, it changes what the windows are up here. Or say, let's go to Graphic and Web. Again, it changes what is up here, or the panels that are open. And you can see as I do that, there are different panels for all sorts of things. You've got color, swatches, gradient patterns. These are how you select colors that you're going to be using in your project. Below that, you have libraries and adjustments. Libraries is something that's really cool with Adobe, where you can save specific color swatches, even things like photos or brand images like logos that you can always have quick access to in your library. Below that, you have layers, channels, paths. So the layer panel is actually one where we're going to be working a lot in. And if you kind of look down below, you can see some layers already that I've created in this project. We have a bird layer, a kid layer, an elephant layer. We're going to be diving into this in more detail in a future lesson, but you can start to understand how Photoshop works by looking at the layer panel and seeing all the different layers we have. And that's basically how Photoshop works, is we're layering different images and effects and graphics on top of each other to create a brand new piece of art. So these panels can be adjusted and moved around and customized to what you think you're going to need to use for your specific project. There's one other bar right here that has more panels. It's kind of a way to hide or minimize the real estate that it takes up in your window. But there's different ones, and you can actually move panels onto this bar, which we'll be showing you in the next lesson. But just so you see these panels that are open. If you go up to Window, you can see which panels are open by seeing which ones have check marks next to them. So for example, if we want to have our character panel open, click Character, and now we have our character panel open on this bar. Character is our options for text. And it also opens the paragraph panel as well, which is related to character. And if you've ever, edited pretty much any text in any sort of application, even like Microsoft Word, you'll be familiar with what paragraph options there are. That's a lot. I know this is a lot, and this is kind of a whirlwind. If you feel like, hey, Phil, this is getting a little bit too in-depth right this second, don't worry. We're going to be going over all of these things, and by the end of this course, you're going to be so comfortable with it. Now, if you're like, Phil, this is super basic, I know all this, let's get to the good stuff, well, just be a little bit more patient because we're getting there. But for anyone who's brand new to Photoshop, understanding this stuff is a little bit complicated. I know that. But now you know the basic workspace and also how to change your workspaces here. So in the next lesson, we're going to be diving a little bit deeper into customizing the workspace and panels to get to a view that I think is going to be perfect moving forward with this class. See you then.